Hello programmer, today in this tutorial we will learn how we can make CRUD system, where CRUD refer to create, read, update and delete operation, which we can use to manipulate our database data. For example, I can store a data. Here we are inserting a data and it will display a data from a database. We can also delete that data. We can edit a data. And here you can see our data has been edited. Now open your text editor and here I have created two files. First one is index.php file where we define how our page should look like. Then second is crud.php and here you define all the operations related to CRUD. Now to make our page more attractive and responsive, here I'm gonna use Bootstrap 4. So go to browser and go to Bootstrap official website. Click on get started. Then copy the starter template. Go to index.php and paste that template. Save this. Now when I refresh the page, here you can see our Bootstrap template is working. Now I'm going to remove all the unnecessary stuff. We do not need this heading and we only use jQuery file. So I'm going to remove all the rest of the JS file. Now to make this whole process much easier, here I have divided it into 4 phases. Let's start with our first phase. In our first phase, we write a code so that we can send our data from our form and store that data into our database. We can also further divide our phases into 2 phases, front end coding and back end coding. So let's write some front end coding. First I'm gonna write div class container, and container is a Bootstrap class. Margin top 2, margin bottom 4, padding 2, and in that container I'm gonna put a shadow effect. Then make a background color white. Then inside a container make form action equal to CRUD query.php. That means we are sending our data to the CRUD query.php file, and method post. That means we are sending data using a post method. Then make another div for our form. Form row justify content center. And when we write a form row, our form element align in a row, and justify content center means we are making our form at the center of the container. Make another div for username. Call auto, and call auto means column auto, which is a Bootstrap grid class. Type text, name username, class form control, ID username, placeholder username. Make another div for our password. And as you can see, in a password field I use text because I want to see what data I am sending. So that here I am using text, name, password, class form control id password placeholder, then make a last div for our button. Type submit, name save, class button, and btn info. Save this. And here you got. And here you can see here I'm using button class and button info class. That means when we use button, it will style our button, and button info give a color blue. Now our next step is write a code in a backend. But first we need to create a database and also a table. So go to PHP MyAdmin page. Then click on new. Give a database name. Create. Give a table name. Account. Column 3. Go. Our first column is ID. Click on auto increment. Click OK. Our next column is username. Data type varchar. Length keep it 30. Our last column is password. Data type varchar. Length 30. And save it. If I go to browse, here you can see our table is empty. Now go to codequery.php file and write a code to make a database connection. New MySQL. Our host is localhost. Database username root. Database password is empty, and we are connecting a database called CRUD. But if somehow our database is not connected, then we have to display that error and exit from this program. So write or die error MySQL error semicolon. Now let's write some code so that we can grab a data from a form and store that data into a database. First we have to check, did user click a save button? So write if and write is set post, because we are sending a form data using a post method. Then here we have to write the name of that button. If you go to index.php file, here you can see here we give a name called save. So use this name, save. If the button is clicked, then we check is username and password is empty or not. So write if is not empty. And for a username, here we have name, username, and for a password, here we have a password. So use this name. And empty post password. If username and password are not empty, then we can grab this value. Now to store our data into a database, we need a SQL insert query. So write an insert query. Insert into a table name called account. In an account table, we are only inserting username and password but not ID, because we set ID as an auto increment so that we do not need to insert ID. So column name is username, another column password, then values, then I send this query into a prepare statement. Then we write a code to pass this value into here. So write statement bind parameter. Then we have to write 2s because username is string and password is string. If the data type is string, then we have to write s. Then pass username and also pass password. After that we have to check is this query execute or not. So write if it execute, then we display some alert message and close a prepare statement. And also close database connection. Now this code is if the username and password are not empty, but in case if the username and password are empty, then write an else statement. And here you display another alert message. At last we redirect user to index.php page. Location. Save this and try to send some data. Now take a look into our database. Here you can see username equal to Nauraj and password equal to Shah has been inserted. Okay, let's write some code for an alert message so that we will be notified when a data is successfully stored in a database. First I'm gonna start a session. Then if this query is execute, I'm gonna store a success message in a session. New record is successfully inserted. Alert, 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 success. This alert and alert success are Bootstrap class, where alert help to design our alert box and alert success make our alert box green. Now also write another message for the case of empty username and password. Username and password should not be empty. Then we make it alert warning, and alert warning make our alert box orange. Save this go to index file. Now to use those session value here, first we have to link that file here. So write require once, then the file name CRUD query.php. Then make another div container. Now before we use our session message, first we have to check our session message is set or not. So write if is set session message. If our session message is set, then we display our alert message. So write div, and this div is for alert box. Alert. Then we put our message. At last, in the if statement, save this, go to browser, refresh this. Now when I submit this form, it display a message. And if I submit a new data, it says new record has been successfully inserted. If I go to the database, here you can see our new data has been inserted. Now let's write some code so that this alert message will automatically disappear after 3 seconds. Now just before the end of body tag, write a script and write document.ready function set timeout function dot alert remove 3000. Here I write alert because we want to disappear our alert box, and here I use dot sign because this alert is a class, and this 3000 referred to 3000 millisecond, which is equal to 3 seconds. That means after a 3 seconds, our alert box is disappear. So save this and go to browser, refresh, try to resend again. And here you can see after 3 seconds, our notification is disappear. And here we finish our first phase. Now we reach to a second phase. In a second phase, our goal is to grab a data from a database and display that data in our web page. Here you can see, here I have grabbed a data from a database and display that data in our table. And also add some delete and edit button. Now go back to editor. Table heading, then row. Inside a table heading row, there is column called ID, another column called username, password, and a last column called action, where we put our button. Now make a table body. Save this, refresh, and here you can see here we made a table, but our table contain only the heading of a column. Now write some code so that we can display the data here. Display users data. Now to grab a data from a database, we need a SQL query called select query. So write a select query and store that query in a sQuery. Select asterisk to select all the column from a table name called account. Limit 20. Now limit 20 means we only select maximum 20 row. Then execute this query and store it in result variable. Now I'm gonna run a while loop so that we can grab a data from each row. Now to access a data from a row, we use a function called fetch ASSOC. Fetch ASSOC. Now let's print this row and see what we got. In the while loop, here you can see here I'm using print r instead of echo, because whenever you want to print object, then at that time you have to use print r, and at this time this row is an object, so we use print r. Now save this, go to the browser, refresh the page, and here you can see here we have some data, ID called 1, username Nauraj, password Saha, and another data called ID 2, username Ashish, password 945. And these are the same data as we display in our web page. Now go back to coding and put this data inside a column. Here in a first column, I'm printing ID. Now in a second column, let's print username. And remember, here we have to write the exact same name as we declare in a database. In a database, I declare ID, username, password. So that I write here ID, username, and password. But if you declare as user ID in a database, then here we have to write user ID. Now make another column for a button. First make a delete button. Type submit. Name delete. Now inside a value, I'm gonna put ID, because when we use ID in a value, then it will help us to delete that record whenever the delete button is pressed. Now write delete and also give a class button, and button danger. And button danger make our button red. Another button for edit, type equal to button, name edit, value. At this time I left it blank, class button and button primary. At last write edit so that it will display. Save this, refresh, and here you can see our data has been displayed. Now write some CSS code so that the width of this action column will decrease, like this one. So go to the last TD, which is for a button, write style width 15%, save this, refresh, and now it's look better. And here we finish our second phase. Now in the third phase, we delete our record whenever user click or delete button. Now go to text editor and just before the table body, make a form. And close the form just above the table body. Now because of this form, whenever user click or delete button, then this form send data to crudquery.php file, and then we can use that data to perform a delete operation. Now go to crudquery.php file and write is that delete button pressed or not. So write if it's set delete. If a delete button is pressed, we store a delete value. Here I am grabbing a ID from a delete button because in a delete button code, here you can see in a value, here we assign ID. So here I stored the value of delete button as a ID. Now to perform a delete operation, we need a SQL delete query. So write delete from a table name called account and give a condition where ID equal to what. Then assign this query into prepare statement. Then pass a value into query. Here we are using I because ID is an integer type of variable, and we pass this ID into here. Now check is this query execute or not. Statement execute. If this query execute, then store some success message in a session. Selected record is successfully deleted. Alert, danger, and this alert danger makes our alert box red. Then close prepare statement. And also close database connection. And redirect to index.php. Save this. Go to browser. Refresh the page. And delete. Here you can see our data has been deleted. Now if I go to the database, refresh the page. Here you can see, here we have only one data and another data has been deleted. And here we finish our third phase. Now we reach to our last phase, and in this phase we write some code so that we can edit our existing data. And I have also divided this phase into two phases. In a first phase, when a user click a edit button, it will pull the data from a table and assign that data in this form. Then in a second phase, we write some PHP code so that we can use the form data to update our existing data. Now go back to text editor and write a code to track each row. Now write a code to track the click of edit button. Now write a code to pull a data. And this code helps us to find which row of edit button is clicked. And this code means whenever user click a edit button, we pull ID, username and password. Then assign a username here, password here, and ID to the value of this save button. Dot. Save this. Go to browser, refresh the page, and here you can see it working. Now write some PHP code for our update operation. Now store a username, password and ID. Now write a SQL update query. Here I am using 2s because username and password are string type of data, and I means ID is integer type of data. At last close prefer statement. And also close database connection. Save this. Refresh the page. I think I forget to unshare this message, so go to index.php and unshare the message. Save this. Refresh. Now if I click a edit button, I can change the name. Click save. And here you can see database has been updated. And here you can see I have successfully updated my data. And here we finish our last phase. If you found this video helpful, then please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.